York in the 80s, at least the part I grew up in was full of families like mine, immigrants, refugees. A lot of people I went to school with, had funny names like me. Uh, one thing that I always remember is we couldn't afford a lunchbox, so I had that, repurposed plastic bag that had been knotted up 4 times. That was my lunchbox, and then when you opened it, like some people were like really offended by the smells that came out, and like your friends who were down were like, "Yeah, I want some of that." Um, and that was like the kind of childhood I had. And I never knew I was a refugee. No one told me I was a refugee, right? I mean, the US government kind of gave me a hint because I had this green card that was like resident alien on the top, and that kind of stuck with me. But the only sense that I had that I was different was actually my name. So growing up, my name, Mohammed, was like I don't know, like a scarlet letter. Like I dreaded hearing it. I dreaded admitting it was mine. Like I had this routine where I would run up to my teacher at the first day of school every year, and like other kids would be like, "Hey, how are you? How's your summer? How was your camp?" I never went to camp, and I was like, find the teacher, and tell her or him, usually her, uh, don't call me Mohammed. Like whatever you do, do not when you take roll today, first time, don't call me Mohammed, call me Yusuf. Now, why did I care? Because Yusuf kind of sounded like Joseph, so we could like work with that. Mohammed just sounded weird to me, and that became like this bargain that I made with myself, right? Um, and and also I think even at the time, like people associated Muhammad with Islam. I certainly did. So I was like, yeah, like I like Christmas. Like Jesus is great. Like forget about Muhammad. And this is probably very offensive to Muslims. Sorry, but I was like 6. And so for whatever it's worth, I wasn't the only one making these compromises. So there were a lot of kids from different places around the world who were there. And the one difference is that they got to change their name, right? So we had like a lot of Jenny's, shout out my wife Jenny, like Michael's, like Danny's, and like I would see these kids at home and I was like, your name is not Danny. Like I know that. Um, but they were able to do that, and my parents never told me I couldn't do it, but I sort of didn't give myself permission to do it, right? Partly because I was terrified of what they would say, right? And partly because I sort of knew that in some way that would be giving up on something. So fast forward again, 1996, New York City, loving it. Things are great. Yusuf is just straight B pluses. Everything's awesome. And then my parents, worn out by being in New York, decided to go to California, right? So what a great move. We're moving to California. We moved to Orange County, California. Orange County, California is like blue, but it's also very white, right? In fact, it's white. And so the first place we went was like this, like the high school, right, in Dana Point, California, where we had a surf team and a lot of blonde people and all kinds of like interesting things happening in the bathrooms. And I was like, this is amazing. Um, and so we go to the registrar's desk, and my dad's there and me, and I'd been crying because, I was sad to leave New York and all this stuff's happening for me as a teenager. I was in high school. And he's registering me, and they asked my name, and he's like, Joseph Azam. And I was like, what? Like, did this just happen? Like, did he just change my name and not tell me? And I'm so excited. And so that was it. I don't know if it's because my parents noticed that I was anxious about moving there, or they looked around and they're like, damn, there's a lot of white people here. Whatever the reason, they were like, Joseph's cool. And so, like, in a way, everything I'd gone through with them, like Kabul, Delhi, the train, Berlin, New York, it all kind of went away, right? As did like Muhammad and Yusuf. So that was interesting, and it was great, right? Being known as Joseph outside of my house was awesome. Like again, white passing. So I sort of experienced a different life in Orange County, and probably a better one, honestly, than if I had kept my name. Um, and but it still kind of bothered me, right? Like because like when they call you down for dinner, eventually it became Joe. And then like my family members started calling me Joe, and then the kids in my family started calling me Joe, and my sister started calling me Joe, and eventually like everybody was calling me Joe, like not even Joseph, right? Just Joe. And so yeah, that's kind of where I ended up. Now I'll never know how much this name change like cleared the way for me, right? I graduated high school, I went to college, incurred debt. I went to grad school, incurred debt. I went to law school, incurred debt. But like I did all that stuff, but I was kind of tortured, right? Because like I kind of felt like there was something false about what I was doing, and it was sort of something that no one else could understand or relate to. So I never talked about it with anybody, and all of this kind of came to a head when I got my citizenship. Remember, I was a resident alien. Afghans are also notoriously late, so my paperwork was not done on time to get my citizenship through my parents. So I had to go through like the rigmarole of like filing the application and doing the interview and saying the pledge and like, you know, agreeing to go to war and whatever we do at that meeting at 18. And I'm proud to say that I crushed the interview. Like I knew how many stripes were on the flag and all the other stuff that people who, you know, were born here didn't know. Um, right? And as I'm sort of sitting at this corridor for in the immigration center in like LA, like the lights are buzzing over my head, and you know, I'm looking at this application, and it's just like last, first, middle, and I'm like, are these people going to let me rename myself again? Like, what is happening? And so as I was like thinking about this, and I was thinking about it, you know, like they called my number, and I sort of got up and shuffled my papers and dropped everything, right? And the woman who was behind the counter was like really, she knew something was up. She looked at me and she's like, oh, you could take time to clean up your mess, right? And I was like, I am cleaning up my mess. That's what I'm doing right now. And as I knelt to pull everything together, you know, I kind of like confronted all the dissonance that I'd in my life, right? Like all the stuff that I'd gone through as an asylum seeker, as like a kid growing in New York City, getting bullied for this, getting bullied for that, you know, and all of it kind of wrapped up in my name. And I decided that I was going to do something different, right? And so, not talking to my dad, who was nearby, of course, because he wouldn't trust me to drive alone. I just, you know, filled it out, and I wrote Joseph Mohammed Yusuf Azam. What a brilliant idea, right? Like, I'm not going to choose a name. I'm going to choose all my names. I should have known because it immediately didn't fit in the spaces. So that is something that I hadn't thought through, but that was my American name.